Awesome, so now let's talk about strings. We will talk about each data type in more detail so you know how to work with them in Python. We will start with strings. Let's define a variable called myGoal. What is your goal? You want to learn Python. Let's work with that. Our goal will be a string. Strings can be defined with double quotes or with single quotes. Single quotes and double quotes will be almost equivalent. The only difference is when you have the other type of quote inside your string. For example, if I define my string with double quotes, let's close the Explorer. If I define my string with double quotes, and then I want to write this, I'm learning Python. That's okay because I used a different type of quote to define the string and I have a single quote right here inside. So that's okay, it will work. But if I define the string with single quotes here, then that's an issue. That's an error that you will see in your program. Why? Python thinks that the string starts here and ends here. It basically finds the matching quote from start to end. So that will not work in this case. An alternative would be to add a backslash. The backslash is a character that allows us to escape special characters. So this will not be interpreted as a special character. It will be a normal character in the string. Since this is not so natural to read in our code, and we usually like to write code that is easy to understand, what we usually do is just use a different type of quote, and that will work correctly. You can find the length of a string. Let's go back to our original string, learn Python. That is your goal. So, with the length function, which is a function that Python already has, and that you can use anywhere you need to in your code, you can find the length of a string. The length of a string is how many characters the string has. In this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, spaces count too. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So let's check this. My goal. And if we want to see that value in the terminal, we have to print it. During the course, you will see me printing a lot of these values, but you don't necessarily have to print them. You can use them in your program wherever you need to, and you can also assign them to variables, okay? I just print them so we can see them in the terminal. Right here, you can see the value 12. So that is the length of the string stored in my goal, learn Python. Strings also have sort of like an internal grid. Each character can be accessed with a particular integer, called an index. That process of accessing the individual characters of a string is called indexing. Let's quickly create a diagram for this particular string. You will see me do this really fast and we will see more details about this in just a moment. Here you can see this. I made a diagram of the string learn Python. In this diagram we have the characters of the string, including the space right here, and integers that start from 0. These integers are called indices. One of these numbers is called an index. Indices are super helpful because if we use a particular index in a string, we can access its associated value. It's like saying, hey, give me the character at index 8, and the program will return that particular character, the letter T. We start counting from 0 because it's common in programming to start counting from 0. That is called zero-based numbering. Basically, you have to change the way you think about things when you start programming. Because initially, we might think that we always start from 1. But for indices, we start from 0. And that is something that you will get used to as you practice more and more with strings and with Python. So how can we access these characters? To access the character, you just write the name of the variable, my goal, And then within square brackets, you write the index of the character that you want to access. In this case, let's say that I want to access the first character. I would write the index 0 right here. And that would be replaced by the letter L in my program. My goal at index 0 is equivalent to the letter L, an uppercase L, like this. You might be curious about why we have some lines gray, shown in gray, and other ones have different colors. That is because these are comments in Python. In programming, we can write comments to explain what is happening in our code or the logic of our code for ourselves and for other developers. Right now, I am using comments to explain how strings work, but we will talk about comments later on in the course. I just want you to know what they are. They are lines in our code that Python will ignore. It will take them like, hey, this is a comment, so I don't have to run any code in these two lines. Comments are totally ignored and they are not considered as part of the code. Okay, so we can write anything we need to in those lines after we write the hash symbol. The hash symbol is what we use in Python to start writing a comment. Okay, so after this short parenthesis, let's go back to indexing. We are trying to access the first character in the string. Let's go to the terminal, let's run the program and see what we get. We get the letter L. Awesome, right? Exactly what we needed. Let's try this with index 1. This should return the letter E. So let's see. Now we see the letter E, exactly what we needed. So this is basically the logic of string indexing. Index 2 would be letter A, and so on. For all the different characters in the string, you can see them right here in the diagram. This is a challenge for you. Try to write all the remaining lines in the code to print all the remaining characters of the string. You just need to print the characters from index 3 to index 11. But that's good practice to help you familiarize yourself with the syntax of how you can index a string. Remember, the name of the variable, square brackets, and within the square brackets, the index. Awesome! Remember that we always start counting from 0, not 1. I have a special challenge for you right now. What will be printed if we use index 5? Think about it for a moment. If we use index 5, will this be an error? What character will this be? Great, let's see what we get. A space. If we use index 5, we will get a space, because spaces and special characters are also part of that internal grid that you can use to work with strings. So that would be a space. If we have a special character, we can print that too. So let's delete this code and let's define a new variable called greeting. Let's say that we're greeting our friends or family and we say hello. Now we have a special character. Well, I'm referring to a special character as a character that is not a letter or a number. In this case, it's an exclamation mark. So if we write this particular diagram, we will see the indices. If we print greeting at index 5, let's see what we get. We get the exclamation mark. So these special characters are also treated as part of the string. They're part of that internal grid that you can see here, and they have their own particular index. A really cool thing that you can also use in Python is negative indices. Negative indices start from -1 for the last character, and they go from right to left, like this. We start from -1 to the right, and we end with -6 to the left, and we are decrementing by 1 every time we move 1 place to the left. Usually we don't work with negative indices directly. What we commonly use is the negative index -1, because that will give us the last character in the string regardless of its length. So it doesn't matter how many characters the string has, if you use -1 you will get the last character. And that should be, in this case, the exclamation mark. You can also take slices. let's go back to my goal. What is your goal again? I want to learn Python, I'm learning Python, and I will learn Python. That is exactly what you have to say to get your mindset ready and your goal clear in your mind. We have that string and we can take a slice of that string. A slice is just a sequence of characters. Previously with indexing we were getting individual characters. Now we can get a slice, more than one character, if we need to. And that is very powerful. We just write the name of the variable, hello, my goal, and then we write where we want to start and where we want to end. Let's create the diagram again, and we can see the string and the indices. So let's say that we want to take a slice that goes from the letter P to the letter T. We want to get these three characters. What we would write is where we want to start, index 6, then a colon. Colons are very important in string slicing. And then we would write where we want to stop. But the character at the index that we write will not be included. If we want to include the letter T as the last character, we need to write the index of the letter H. 9. Just think of it like this. You want to write the index that will not be included, the first index that will not be included in the string. So we start from 6, we include 7 and 8, and then when we reach index 9, we stop. That's basically the logic. Let's see what we get. Let's kill the terminal and start with a new terminal. We get the slice PYT. Exactly what we predicted, PYT. Great. Now, we can also omit some of these values. If we want to start from the very first index in the string and we want to stop at a particular index, then we can just write the colon and the end index where we want to stop. Notice that we are not writing a number here, we're not writing 0 explicitly, because this is the default value if we omit it. We will start from 0 and then we will stop at 4. 4 is the index of the last character that we will include. Great, so let's see the output. We get the slice learn. See, we stopped at 4. Great. We can also start at a particular index and continue until we reach the end of the string. In that case, we just omit the second value and we write the colon after the first value. In this case, we're going to start from 6 and we're going to continue until we reach the value 11. See, we get the slice Python. Exactly what we wanted. And we can also customize this even further with 3 values, 3 parameters. We can say, I want to start from index 1 from E, and I want to stop at index 10. This will not be included, so the last one to be included should be H at index 9. But I also want to jump 2 indices before I add the next character. So I want to go from 1 to 3, from 3 to 5, from 5 to 7, and from 7 to 9. I want to add 2 to each index, to the current index, and all the other characters will not be included. This is like the step, how much we're going to jump from one character until we reach the next one in the slice. Let's see the result. We get this result. From 1 we jump to 3, from 3 we jump to 5, then to 7, and finally to 9 when we reach the letter H. Great, and one last string slicing tip is that if you write 2 colons and -1, you can get a reversed copy of the string, like this. Awesome, right? You can get the same string, but reversed. And you can assign it to a variable if you need to. So now you learned more about string slicing, string indexing, and how you can get the length of a string. We also have very important string methods. One of them is capitalize. Methods are like functions that you can call, that you can execute to work with a particular value. In this case, that would be the string. You just write the name of the variable, followed by a dot and the name of the method. and then parentheses, empty parentheses if the method doesn't need any values, or some values if the method requires them. We will see different examples. Capitalize basically capitalizes a string if it's not already capitalized. Okay, so the first letter is in uppercase and the rest is in lowercase. Notice that this uppercase b was changed by a lowercase b. Then we have the method count. We can count how many times a particular character appears in the string. So let's count how many times this string has the letter N. 2. We have 2 letter N's and that is correct. So these are like common operations that the creators of Python have already implemented for us and they are super helpful. We also have a method to check if the string is alphabetic, if it only has letters, if it's alphanumeric, if it has letters and numbers, and we have many different options that we can use. Okay, we can check if the string represents a digit or if it's decimal. We can check if the string is in lowercase or in uppercase, and we can convert it to uppercase and to lowercase. For example, if we want to convert it to uppercase, we just call the upper method, and we get an uppercase copy of the string. Something very important about strings is that they are immutable. You can't replace a particular character in the string, like this. You can't do this. You can't replace the letter L with the letter P with the index. You can't do this, reassigning a particular character. If you try to do this, you will see an error. A type error. The string object does not support item assignment. Okay, so once you have the string, it will stay like that and you can't change it in your program. Great, so now you know more about strings and how to work with them in Python. In the next part, we will talk about another important and helpful feature in Python, taking user input to make your programs more interactive. So, see you in the next part of the course.